Hi, Dave here from Informed American, talking about the 5 things we learned from Trump's speech at CPAC. If you happen to catch the speech, go ahead and comment down below right now. Let me know what you thought about it, what you thought of his presentation, and the points he hit on. We learned a lot, I think. This was really, the first public comments from President Trump since he left office. He did not speak at all during the impeachment proceedings. Of course, he was essentially muzzled, banned from Twitter, and all over the place, so he didn't have many outlets other than to release, he released a couple of letters, statements from the former office of the president, or whatever he called it, but nothing directly seeing Trump speak. So this was his first public appearance since leaving office. I've got a series of clips here that I want to get to. I'm going to walk through just a few short ones, just to hammer the points home. And I think the number one takeaway what we learned about President Trump's speech is that he's not going away. Some of you maybe thought that he might slink back, maybe take a lower profile for a while. Well, at least it doesn't appear that he's going to do that. And maybe, just maybe, run again for president. Let's get to clip number 1.
Together in the coming years, we will carry forward the torch of American liberty. We will lead the conservative movement and the Republican Party back to a totally conclusive victory, and we've had tremendous victories. Don't ever forget it. With your help, we will take back the House. We will win the Senate, and then a Republican president will make a triumphant return to the White House. And I wonder who that will be.
I wonder who that will be. Now, this isn't the only time he hinted at that. There's also another one here.
But who knows? Who knows? I may even decide to beat them for a third time, okay? Beat them for a third time.
Beat them for a third time. Of course, beating Hillary Clinton, beating Joe Biden in Trump's mind, I guess, and then beating him a third time. So he's leaving the door open, as I've said repeatedly here. I do not think he's going to run again. One, he has some legal trouble to get over, and I think the obvious point left up here is if you, President Trump, believe that the election was stolen. What makes you think it won't be stolen again? What is the point in running again? So either you believe it, and it doesn't make sense to run again, at least not you, and or you really didn't believe it was stolen, and you think you have a legit chance to win again. So I just don't think that's going to happen for a lot of reasons that I've gone over here. I do not think he's going to run again, but he is leaving that door slightly open. So, of course, with Trump, you never know what he's going to do. So, yes, he's announcing he's not going away, and I'm going to detail some different ways that he's going to do that. Now, another major takeaway, something that we've discussed here, and many of you have shown support for, was this idea of Trump forming a third political party, what many have called the Patriot Party, or at least that was the rumored name. And there was a lot of support for it because many conservatives are fed up with the Republican Party, and many on the left are like, yeah, go ahead and make another party. That'll guarantee that Democrats win every national election going forward. But Trump addressed whether or not he was going to form another political party here.
We're not starting new parties. You know, they kept saying, he's going to start a brand new party. We have the Republican Party. It's going to unite and be stronger than ever before. I am not starting a new party. That was fake news.
So clear as day for all of you who were maybe hoping Trump would form another party, break away from the Republican Party. That is not happening. He could not be more clear that he is sticking with the Republican Party. He will not attempt to fracture the Republican Party, break off, and form his own thing. So that is over with. Those rumors, I guess, you can quash. And that was it seemed to be. It did the way the story was reported. It was sort of as rumored. There was nothing concrete, and I think when I first reported on the story on day one when that story came out, it was very thin in terms of details. But it was worth discussing because of the dissatisfaction that many have with the Republican Party, and the idea that maybe it's time to start something new appealed to a lot of people, but that appears to be not the case. Trump is going to stick with the Republican Party, and maybe for you disillusioned Republicans, that may not be a bad thing, as I'll explain in just a bit. Now, Another third thing I learned, Trump's support is still sky high. CPAC conducts a straw poll every year for a presidential nominee, and guess who came up number one? Yes, your former president, Donald Trump. As former President Trump on Sunday urged his supporters to vote out rhinos in Congress while encouraging the Republican Party to stay united around a pro-worker platform, something we just discussed a second ago. Trump was the top choice of 55% of CPAC attendees, but Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, placed a strong second with 21% of the vote. And as this New York Post article says, well, he might have gotten a home state boost considering that CPAC was being hosted in Orlando. So there may have been a lot of locals there voting for their governor. Something to keep in mind on that. But I believe I mentioned this before. DeSantis he's one to watch for sure. I don't know for 2024, maybe for 2028. Some people have called him mini Trump, which I don't know is fair, but he has very similar qualities. And without he may lack the charisma of Trump, but he also doesn't necessarily let's say he watches what he says a little better than President Trump. It says now for those other than Trump, who I do not believe will run again, DeSantis would be the top, but of course, who knows what was going on there with the voters, how many were local, how many were not. Now, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem was a distant third with 4% of the vote, and former UN ambassador and ex-South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley with 3%. Now, Noem's an interesting one. I could definitely see her as a presidential candidate and potentially as a VP pick. Now, missing here was Mike Pence. I don't know. I don't have the full list here. Did anybody vote for Pence? Interesting there. Vice president for 4 years. Not a lot of interest in him running as president. Now, Nikki Haley is one to potentially watch, and not because I think she is popular within the conservative base, but she is the GOP establishment pick. So that is one to watch. Very similar to maybe a Kamala Harris, a Joe Biden, someone who's on the Democrat side, someone who's favored by the party bosses who will be pushed forward. So Nikki Haley is certainly one to watch. Basically, a Mitt Romney type, I would say, somewhere along there. But I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't think she's going to win the nomination. So it's very early, looking at this. I mean, here we are, in March, which is almost unbelievable that we're actually in March now. But it's really early. It's March 2021. We're talking about a race for 2024. So very, very early. But what it certainly does show is the strong support that President Trump has with conservatives and with Republicans. Now, Trump also spent, we're moving on to number 4 here, Trump also spent a bit of time touting his own record and even his own record with regard to COVID-19 and how he's handling of the coronavirus, in particular vaccines. And he also, by the way, I don't have a clip here, but he also slammed Joe Biden on the topic of the coronavirus. He slammed Joe Biden simultaneously on COVID and on immigration, basically saying something along the lines of, "Well, they're keeping you locked down in your homes, but we're allowing thousands of people to come in at the border." That kind of stuff, which you would expect from President Trump, as we've detailed here. Joe Biden rolling back a lot of the enforcement measures at the southern border, so Trump is certainly not happy about that. I mean, it's basically seeing a large part of his legacy being undone. But let's get to this clip here on the handling of the coronavirus with a little jab at Joe Biden.
Yet Biden said just a few days ago that when he got here, meaning the White House, there was no vaccine. He said, "There's no vaccine." Oh, good. Say it again, Joe. Now, I don't think he said that, frankly, in a malicious way. I really don't. I actually believe he said that because he didn't really know what the hell was happening.
So, taking a shot there at Biden's mental faculties, saying, we got here. Biden says we got here. There was no vaccine, which of course is not true. And of course we know what happened in the media regarding the vaccine. Operation Warp Speed, which was Trump's plan to manufacture and distribute the vaccine, was described as dangerous. Many people, even Vice President Kamala Harris, I believe, questioning whether or not someone should take a vaccine. And we went over some of the news reports saying, Trump's Trump's bad and this is reckless and maybe you don't want this vaccine, but of course now that the President Biden is in office, you all need to take the vaccine. And in fact, Trump here actually said here later in the clip, I'm not going to play it, but encouraging everyone to get the vaccine. So a little bit of jab there at Biden, and as it reminds me of the video we did a week or two ago during the town hall at CNN, the CNN town hall with Joe Biden saying, "I wake up every morning." And I say to Jill, "Where are we?" So I think that was a joke, but certainly it's not something you want to say, particularly when people are questioning whether or not you've got all your marbles. So I thought that was funny. But Trump, yes, he's not backing down on, excuse me, he's not backing down on his record. He's defending his record, particularly on the coronavirus, saying, look, you got the vaccines because of me, is essentially his point. Now, I did stumble upon an interesting video about Trump's COVID prediction. So if you find that of interest, I'm going to put the link down below with a banner. Interesting video for you to check out. You may find it very useful to you. So I'm just going to link that down below. I'm not going to play that, of course, but if you are interested, check that out with relation to Trump's COVID prediction. Now, number 5. Now, I'm going to be a little bit generous here with number 5, because this didn't come directly from Trump's speech, but it did come from after Trump is doing interviews and basically in the news. We learned 2 other things, but I'm going to combine them into one for my number 5. This was interesting, and we didn't hear this before. This is a Fox News story. Former President Trump told Fox News late Sunday that he expressed concern over the size of the crowd near the Capitol days before last month's deadly riots and personally requested 10,000 National Guard troops be deployed in response. Very, very interesting story. Have you heard this? And second impeachment, before we could have gotten to this, they just basically voted it out. They never called witnesses or anything like that. So I wonder if this would have been revealed in the impeachment trial. Trump said that his team alerted the Department of Defense days before the rally that crowds might be larger than anticipated and 10,000 National Guardsmen should be ready to deploy. He said that, from what he understands, the warning was passed along to the leaders at the Capitol, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and he heard that the request was rejected because these leaders did not like the optics of 10,000 troops at the Capitol. He says, in a last quote here from the article, so, that was a big mistake. Very interesting. President Trump requested National Guard to be deployed in D.C., and it was not. And then we saw the aftermath. Now, this idea that we don't like the optics of having of troops in D.C., well, that flew out the window. In fact, in D.C. still, right now, as I mentioned, yes, it is March, and those riots took place on January 6th. Here we are nearly 2 months from then. D.C. is still covered with barbed wire and fencing, and I believe there are 6,000 National Guard troops still in D.C. So how's that for optics? Very, very interesting nugget there. And as I mentioned, the Senate is investigating the riots. I wonder if this will be uncovered. Now, finally, the final thing we learned over the weekend was that Trump is planning, potentially, well, we'll see, but turning his attention to fundraising, forming a new super PAC. This is CNN. Former President Donald Trump is weighing the creation of a super PAC as he seeks to assert authority, over the Republican Party and expand his post-presidential political operation. Says the committee could be a brand new entity or repurposed version of America First, which is an existing super PAC launched while Trump was in office. So look at this. Trump made several changes Saturday to his growing fundraising apparatus. Filings with the FEC, he converted both his presidential campaign committee, Donald J. Trump for President, and his leadership PAC, Save America, into 2 political action committees that can support other candidates for office. Trump's campaign committee has become Make America Great Again PAC, or the MAGA PAC. So I believe this is happening. Now, I think this is just a blurb. There's no formal announcement, but I do believe this is happening. So to summarize, still, I do not think President Trump is running again. And I think with this little bit of story here from CNN about what he's doing with his fundraising is to raise money for other candidates. Instead, he'd be better, and I think he'd be better served to be in the role that it appears that I think he's going down now, not running again for president, but rather to wield power from behind the scenes, to become a massive fundraiser, to become essentially what some would call maybe a kingmaker for candidates in the Republican Party, for those who run for president, for those who run for Senate and in the House. Basically, and I know, and I didn't play a clip of this, but Trump made a jab at Representative Liz Cheney, calling her a warmonger, and she needs to be kicked out of office, essentially. I think this would be a good role for Trump. And as I mentioned a minute ago, he has his own legal problems going on right now. I don't think running for office is in his best interest, but you could see the support that he has with conservatives. You see the support that he has within the Republican Party. He's now committed to the Republican Party. He's not going to form his own thing. He is all in on the Republican Party in reforming it. I think that's a good role for him. I want to know what you think about that. Do you think, I mean, it's possible that Trump could have more influence over the Republican Party as essentially a boss, a fundraising boss, and using his influence that everybody in the room will know that he has over voters. His endorsement could be key. And I think he could have more influence over the Republican Party in that role than maybe even as he had as president. What do you think about that? Well, those are the 5 things I learned from Trump's CPAC speech. I want to know what you think. If you watched the speech, give me your thoughts below. What do you think of the 5 things that I learned? Did you agree? I think those are the most important takeaways going on here. Again, to summarize, I do not think he's running again, but the role of kingmaker could be a very, very interesting place for him in the Republican Party to basically reform the party, keep and maintain that transformation into a pro-worker, make America great again, America first type of party. I think that is much better suited for him. So I want to know what you think about all of that. Or was this all just a bunch of nonsense? Was it all just a bunch of bluster? Certainly a possibility as well. Well, let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the thumbs up button, share this video with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button, subscribe to this channel to get more content like this. And we always want you to head on over to informedamerican.com where you can get real smart news. Sign up for our free daily email newsletter. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.